Knives are cool. And axes too. Hello everybody, Robert Breaker, and it's rainy outside. It's been raining for a few days, so I thought we'd come inside, and it looks like we have some pretty good light in here. So we're going to look at bayonets today. Bayonets for, well, if it's a military, it's an M4, but these aren't for military as far as I'm concerned. These are for an AR-15. And this is my small bayonet collection, and I wanted to share that with you today. Now, when it comes to an AR-15, there's three different types of AR-15s. You've got your carbine, you've got your mid-length, and you've got your rifle. And whether or not your bayonet fits is whether or not you have the one that it fits. And we'll get to that here in a minute. But before we do, I want to show you these. These are bayonets for an AR-15 rifle. Some of these were actually used overseas. And I didn't know anything about this till about 10 years ago, when a friend of mine who was in the military, in the Marines, went in with me to Trader Dan's, and this one here was in Trader Dan's for $80. Now, in Pensacola, we're poor. I live close to Pensacola, Florida, and we're very poor here. So we have, I don't know, bad economy, and a lot of times we trade. Each one of these in trade, easy, is a $100 bill. Some of these are worth a little bit more because they're nicer and newer. But I went into Trader Dan's, and my friend said, if you don't buy that, I will. And I said, well, I've never had one. I don't know anything about them. So he said, well, that's a Frobus, and you need to get that. And I've since learned that there's Frobus, there's Buck, there's Lan-Cay, and then there's Ontario. And so I have some to show you. But this was the first modern bayonet that I bought. And this is the Frobus. So I need you to get in on this in order to see where it says on the actual knife itself, Frobus, M9. And this is their standard issue bayonet. This is what a lot of military today use as the bayonet. And so what you have is you have the ring here so that it fits onto the rifle itself. And here's where it hooks in. But it also can be used as a knife. Now, the cool thing about the sheath is the sheath has a place for a knife sharpener or something else. I don't know what that's for, because on the back of the sheath is your knife sharpener, which is really cool. So you can actually sharpen your knife on the back there and do what you need to do. So this is a Frobus, and everything matches on this, but look how bulky that is. You would think they'd want something thinner. And also, you have this cool thing here. This is for, some of these are tight. They kind of need to be filed down a little. There we go. When you come across wire, you can cut wire. So if you come across a chain link fence, this is actually a wire cutter. So this was my first Frobus, and my friend told me, man, you got to get that. If you're not, I will. And I was like, well, I might as well get it. And I've since found others here and there, and some of them I got for a lot cheaper. And these, I've had others during the years that, you know, a guy and you have something he wants, you say, hey, I'll trade you this $100 bill. And these are almost like a $100 bill. Now, other states I've been to, other than Florida, they're a $150 bill. So I can't say $100 bill, because in other states they're actually worth more. But this was the second one I got. I picked this up in a garage sale close to us. Around where we live, there are a lot of military bases. This one was used by a guy in the military. It's a United States Marine Corps, and it's made by Ontario. Can you see that? And when I got this from this guy told me, I use this in Iraq. And he said, and I haven't cleaned it. So the coolest thing to me about this thing is it still has mud on it from Iraq. So zoom in on that and show, if you can, how, and I won't clean it, because the fact that it's just got Iraqi dirt still all in it is amazing to me. And on this side it says USMC, and if you turn it over on the other side, well, that's the Marine Corps logo. But this one has dirt from Iraq on it. That was so cool for me to get this from this guy at that garage sale. And this one here is the color of the Marines. But here, this is where you got to be careful. This is supposed to be, what is that called, honey? That stretchy stuff, elastic. And it can outstretch too much. But look at the sharpener on the back on that. It's not as big as the more Army sharpener. It's just a little sharpening rod. But this is a nicer one. As far as I'm concerned, I like this design and this shape and everything better. And then I found one that had never been used. This one is brand spanking new. That's the same as this. And when they're new, you almost don't want to take them out, because as soon as you take it out the first time, it scratches it, because there's a retention thing in there and you get a scratch on it. But this one is gorgeous, brand new, never been used. And this is a Marine Corps one as well, and it too has all that. But look how the elastic is so strong, you almost can't get this one off. This is one where the elastic's been used so much it's stretched out. So this one is pretty cool. I'll leave it out. I'll leave all these out. So you've got Frobus, you've got Ontario. This is a black Ontario, and this is just your standard black Ontario, but look how it has no sharpener on the back. So some of these are sold as aftermarket bayonets to collectors, and some of these are actually used in the military. The most sought after is the Buck, because Buck put in a contract with the government, and they didn't think they were going to win. They gave them like an outrageous price, and they won. And they said, oh, stink. Now what do we do? And so they had to go ahead and make them. And there are very few Buck ones made because they contracted out with Lan-Cay, and Lan-Cay made some. But check this out. This is a Buck, and these are very sought after. This is like a $300 bill. And this one is very, very used, unfortunately, almost overly used. But if you see one that's a Buck and you're at a garage sale and they want a little bit of money, get it. Here's your sharpener on the back, and these are very, very rare to get one that was made by Buck. This I picked up at a sale, I think over in Mississippi, and it's a different color. And it's still got packaging on it. It's so new I hate to even open it, but I will. And look what it says. It says Lan-Cay. So there's Lan-Cay, and then on the other side it says Saber. And look at that. Can you see the, what is that, mountain lion or something? So you have different companies, and that's what collectors like to do. They collect the different ones. Frobus, Ontario, Buck, Lan-Cay. Now, if there's any others, that would be cool to know. So if you know of any others, please leave in the comments who else makes these. I know China is now making things like this, and they're not that great. Now, I saw this one time at a show, and the leather's coming out on that, unfortunately. And I thought this was the holy grail of your M16 bayonets. Because watch what happens when I open this up. Now, if you're familiar with your regular older bayonets from Vietnam, they've got a very short little blade that's not very thick, and it's kind of pointed. This thing has a actual knife, like a K-bar knife on it. And this was supposed to be a prototype, and they only made about 100 of these all total. And when I saw this, I thought, that's it. That's the prototype. Well, sometimes you buy something without knowing what you bought. And luckily, I traded a lot with the guy, so I didn't come out too far behind. I gave him a little cash and a lot of trade-in of a lot of different knives. Turns out this is not the prototype. There was a company back in the 90s called Sarco. And Sarco bought a company with all these parts laying around. And they said, well, let's don't just sell the parts, let's put it together and sell it. And so now these are out there, and a lot of people have this. And the way you tell if it's the real one, if it's the real prototype, or if it's a fake one, is right here, all right? Notice here how that's not finished right there. If this were the prototype, they would have sanded that around and it would have been completely flush all the way around. Notice how the leather kind of goes over. So Sarco pulled a fast one and just put two things together that aren't supposed to go together and made people think that this is the prototype, but it's not. But it is kind of cool because it's a knife, and you don't put a knife on a bayonet. A bayonet's more of a sticker, and notice how that has the Bowie thing. So that is pretty rare, and this one is actually made in Conetta, C-O-N-E-T-T-A. See if you can get Conetta on here. So this is what they call a Frankenstein, I guess. This is a Franken bayonet, Frankenstein, because they took a knife and they put it together on a bayonet, and it's not the blade that's supposed to be on here. But I still think it's cool. I still think it's cool. Now, when it comes to your AR-15, a lot of people will buy what they call a Carbine AR-15. Now, this is not an AR-15 rifle. This is a part of a rifle. So this is just a piece. This is what they call an upper. But I thought I'd bring it out today to show you how these fit. And a lot of guys, they want their first AR-15, they want to get a carbine. And then they get themselves a bayonet and they think, I'm going to put it on there. And guess what? They're disappointed. Because when you put this bayonet on there, look what it does. You hear the rattle? It doesn't fit right. The ring is supposed to go here around the muzzle brake, but it doesn't. It goes around there, and it rattle, 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 rattle. So come in on that and zoom in on that and see how it's not where it should be. It should be right there, this ring, but it's there. So a lot of guys, they get themselves a carbine and they get disappointed. Well, it's not like when I was in the military. Well, if you're in the military and you have the rifle version, then it stops there. And look, when it's there where it's supposed to be, it doesn't rattle. So there is a solution to that. They sell a little piece about that big. I think it's close to $30, $40. And it's an extender, a bayonet lug extender. And you can get that if you want. Or you can go with what's called a mid-length. And I like a mid-length or a rifle way better than a carbine. But the carbine is the most sold, I guess, civilian type. But this is a mid-length. And the mid-length, look how it's longer. This here is longer, the foregrip, I guess it's called. And when you put it onto a mid-length, it fits perfectly. You see that? No rattle. Now maybe they always rattle a little bit, so you hear a little there. But it's made like it's supposed to be, and it fits on the ring where it's supposed to. And look at that. Now, remember the other one, when we put the other one on, it was way back here. So look how short that it would have been. But here, it's the right distance. So if you find yourself in the zombie apocalypse, you want a mid-length because you want the blade sticking out farther in order to get rid of the zombies, if you know what I'm saying. But if you were to get the carbine, let's look at it again, and you put it on the carbine barrel is just way longer. And look how it's not out as much. So let me put one on here as well and show you the difference. So a lot of guys don't know that. A lot of this is trial and error, things you have to learn, so I thought I'd share. So to me, the mid-length is the better one. And the mid-length, it's where it's supposed to be. See how much longer it is? And on the carbine, on this side, it's not out as long as it should be, and it rattles. So that's something that you probably need to know if you want to get into this kind of stuff, and if you're into bayonets. Nothing wrong with the bayonet. The bayonet's great. Now, like I said, these are over $100. A lot of these bayonets are around $100. China is now making bayonets like this that are cheapies for 30, 40, 50 bucks. But nothing beats American-made. Buck, Lan-Cay, Ontario, and Frobus. To me, they're the more collectible because they could have been Army issued or maybe were Army issued. And of all of these, my favorite has to be this one right here that was used in actual combat in Iraq, and it still has the dirt on it. It had a lot more when I bought it. It must have flaked off, but still in the little corners there in the handle, there's still actually dirt from Iraq in that. I just find that so amazing. So I try to keep that one from being cleaned and from getting messed up. But this is my small little collection. And no, I didn't pay $100 each for all these. A lot of this is garage sailing and finding this and that and this and that. And you buy something and then I trade up. So I get $20, $30, $40 worth of something and trade it for one of these. Now I've traded up to something that's worth more. And there's been times when I've had one or two of these and I trade them for something that's worth even more. So it's all about fun. It's all about collecting. And it's all about trading up. And part of it is all about knowledge. If you go to a garage sale and I saw a Frobus and I saw a buck and I had to choose one, I'd take the buck because that's about 300 bucks because those are so rare. Only so few of those were made. But I do like the Frobus. If I had a choice between a Frobus and Ontario, I'd probably get a Frobus because Frobus is very, very good. And it's more kind of nostalgic for a lot of guys that were actually in the military. They like the Frobus better. And look at the Frobus, how it has double-sided. So it's symmetrical, and you can tell how one side is more flat than the other side. Can you see that? That's what I'm trying to explain. I'm so tired I can barely think. But these are really cool bayonets, but they're heavy. They're very heavy, and that's what they issued to the American soldiers, these big, huge things to lug around. In Vietnam, they were much smaller. I don't have a Vietnam bayonet. I had one time, got it at a garage sale for like $5 without a sheath, and I got rid of the thing. But these are cool, and these are collector's items. You go to a show, a knife show, you might see these, and special ones that are colors like this that aren't normal colors, they will go for more. And to me, it's all about collectability, and then all about trading it for something different. And I can't wait to trade a lot of these because I don't need them really, but it is a neat collection and I love to share it. And now that I've shared it with you, now I can get rid of some of these, and that'll be kind of cool, and have something else to make a video on that we can talk about. So I hope you enjoy that. Come in and look at these. The buck is my favorite, and this actual exemplar, or whatever you call it, this actual buck one is really, really used. So you can only imagine that takes away the value. If I had a buck that was brand new and never been used, it'd be worth way more. But these are all of them. And if you have one of these, they're called, I believe, M9 is what they call the bayonet, the M9. If you have an M9 bayonet, what brand is it? Tell us about it. Let us know. What's the color? And we'd love to learn more, and maybe we can all learn together. So there's my video on bayonets. A lot of people have asked about bayonets, and I was like, I don't know, but okay, I did it, I showed it, and I hope it was a blessing to you, and hopefully you can get one of these as well. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Knives are cool, and axes too.
Bullseye.